Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, maybe. If you're somewhere on the other side of the globe, it's time for more Link to the Past randomizer here in the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament. We're in the brackets. It's ArcturusChusky versus Mattocat here in the Master Sword bracket. I'm BenCreighton here in the commentating booth, and joining me is it tjjoll?
Sure is. How's Ben today?
Doing good. Going to be interesting to see some of these runners. They've had somebody kind of holding their hands all through the Swiss stages of the tournament. But the training wheels are off. We're in the brackets. No mentors, no swords to start with. I believe game 2 between these runners. Looks like Arcturus has one win under his belt.
Yeah, it was watched some of the race. It was good to see what they were both showing off, what they retained from their mentors. Can't wait to see what else keeps going through here, and hopefully a good, nice, close race, because they're always more exciting.
Yep, hopefully we should see more nice competitive races as we get into these brackets. Everybody's been seeded during the early stages of the tournament. It was kind of crazy times, catch as catch can, lots of blowouts. But I'm looking forward to more close races. Let's see it. Let's get some recounts. Let's get some like 2-minute or 2-second differences. Let's have to go to the VOD to call a winner. Let's get crazy.
Sounds like a good idea, along with some of those fun item places that make you always go, why is that there?
Well, as we were talking about in the green room before we went live here, it's not a Trey Spyre seed today, so it's going to be straight ahead jet seed, just easy, very linear. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and and if it does go off the rails, we know who both of these runners will blame anyway, one way or the other. Thanks to Trey for putting up the restream, and here we go.
Absolutely, and we're getting that little bit of divergence already. Mattocat going with the Sank start. Arcturus sticking with the Uncle route that was a little more popular during Swiss when you had that sword to go straight into escape.
Yeah, definitely. Nice to head up here. If you get something, gun through the castle, but Matto picking up that bottle right out of Sank's nice and early, leaves no questions in going through Kakariko.
Yeah, definitely handy to be able to check out Sick Kid. Well, and progression items aside, Arcturus is getting a bunch of bombs here. Looks like Mattocat will also get the bomb tree pull, heading up for a lumberjack check early on.
Yeah, not a bad move right away at this point. You always want to know if you have to start thinking about Aga even before the items start piling up.
Yep, not going to be an issue today, at least not for lumberjack purposes. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the early lumberjack check in an open start. If you're doing a Sank start anyway, you're right close, gives you another crack at that tree pole, hoping to get bombs in time for CAC. And it looks like Mattocat likes it so much, he's going to go for a second helping in a moment here. You do have to kill an enemy to restart that tree pole progression. And that's Boots in Mushroom Spot.
Oh, wow. Nice early boots. Runners are going to love that. Time to go real fast.
Yep, and that was a map check over on the left-hand side. Looks like we got a green pendant in Desert, red crystal in Hera, and bog standard blue crystal there in Eastern.
Green pendant Desert early with boots. Really interesting. If something like the book pops up, you're going to start thinking about it. Especially when you can get there with boots nice and quick.
Yep, of course, quite a few more pieces of the puzzle necessary to actually get to that green pendant. You'll need a glove, you'll need a fire source, but it's always interesting to see a little bit of extra value get added to one of those 2-item dungeons like a Desert or a Hera.
Let's see what Blind's Hideout's got for us today. Yeah, a piece of heart, 10 pointy sticks, a blue rupee, a full heart container. That's nice early. And half magic nice and early as well. Runners are going to really enjoy that.
Yeah, that's a really handy safety to have. Interesting to note, both of our runners going straight from Lost Woods back down there into CAC. Finding those boots in Lost Woods might have you thinking, you know, it's not that much of a detour to just pop back to Bonk Rocks real quick, just in case. Oh, but there's that lamp and that glove, both in the CAC well today.
That's interesting. Nice real early on both of those two. No lamp hunt for either one of our runners, so they'll both enjoy that, I'm sure.
And a hammer. That's 2/3 of our Dark World puzzle. Still going to need to find that Moon Pearl, but that's a near death knell for Aga, unless that Moon Pearl is hiding on Pyramid Ledge, which I know we all love to see it. Mattocat being the good guy and just letting that chicken out in passing. Come on out, bud. You don't need to live in that pot.
Convenient money off sick kid to go back up and check the bottle vendor. That's real nice. Hey, for a bottle. Excellent.
Yep, vanilla bottle. But this bottle vendor's extra nice. Comes preloaded with a fairy, which, when you still have green mail and 5 hearts to your name, it's nice having that little extra peace of mind in the back of your head.
Yeah, no one's going to say no to that one for sure. What do we have in the library today? Looks like another 50 rupees up there, so early money as well. That's always a bonus.
Yeah, Mattocat opting to pick it up. It's the sort of thing that you often see skipped, but this early and after just about bankrupting yourself for that bottle merchant, you got to be thinking, if I should find myself with early pod access, I don't want to find myself locked out.
Interesting to see where Matto takes this. Do they go up and check the castle real quick, or do they just head south shore? I'm thinking with bombs, glove, everything, you've got to be pushing south.
Yep, you could, with that hammer in tow, the castle play might look a little more enticing, but Matto's keeping it pretty regular here, heading on to South Shore. Arcturus, on the other hand, saving quitting to Sank, this could be a back of escape play with those gloves.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised that didn't just go over to Bonk Rocks real quick and then run back over and drop down, because you're going to save and quit out of here anyway.
Yeah, that would seem to be the time to do it. And Arcturus spending a bomb to bust that wall open. And there's a quake, the small key, and a map. So there will be an item in Dark Cross, but he's leaving it behind. It is in logic with that lamp.
Here comes the Bonk Rock check as Matto chases down everybody's favorite mini worms with that hammer. Not always the most enjoyable task.
And Arcturus bypassing the Bonk Rocks again, heading up the mountain. This is a little iffy. Only, what, 2 checks up here, plus information on a 3rd. Unless he should luck into a vanilla mirror or something.
Yeah, definitely a play to make early, but it is there, and trusting his feeling. Looks like we got flippers in Mini Muldorm Cave while we're already down here, so that works out well. A little short on funds for Zora, but
Yeah, those flippers don't actually open much up that wouldn't have been attainable with some creative water walk and or fake flipper strats, but puts a lot of stuff in logic and thus makes it a little more enticing as a play. And there's a sword, unobtainable for the moment, hiding out on top of Spec Rock.
like this play from ArcturusChusky, though. Come over, get your Dark World information.
And that's Pendants in Pod. Uh-oh, paging Leoria. And Thieves Town, also the other red crystal there in Skullwoods.
Everybody's favorite nightmare, Pendant Pod.
A second bottle on Hylia Island. Probably won't be going out of our way to collect that, as Chusky heads down to South Shore where he'll be finding his own flippers. Just bombs from the hobo. Mattocat gonna take the long swim back down to the Zora area. And the question on everybody's mind is, where is that moon pearl hiding? The big density play after this Zora area stuff is crossed off would be the eastern area.
Yeah, definitely think about, or take that hammer and go through the castle. It's quite often that it likes to just hide in there too.
Yep, but density, what's that? Arcturus turning his back on the mini Moldorm cave and opting for a bit of a gamble, heading into Agena. Not a terrible idea when you've got those boots to make it a little quicker, a little safer to take a chance for a potential big reward.
Yeah, Agena definitely one of those checks that if you don't get it in there early, when do you go back for it until you're almost absolutely last locationing it?
And not much love in the Zora area. Matto's going to go ahead and check back of escape. Let's see if he goes ahead and continues with that to the Dark Cross that Arcturus left behind. And Ark having a little trouble with those Moldorms. Needs to be a little careful here with only 2 hearts left.
Yeah,
Opting... Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, they're definitely not the most fun thing to chase down with a hammer, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly don't blame him for opting for some slower but safer bomb strats. And that's an Ether Medallion in Dark Cross.
Always nice to see medallions early. Just, you know, something cross off your list. If you do end up having to hunt for the third one, that could be something, or it could fall into it. But it's one of those ones when I'm running, I'd like to see them really early. At least, you know, off the back of my mind that way.
Yeah, especially with both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock being crystals today. You know you're gonna need at least one and potentially 2. I suppose at this point, potentially 3, depending on what our entrance to Ice Palace requires. That can be done with Bombos or Fire Rod, neither of which have reared their heads yet. And Mattocat proceeding to the front of Escape, slightly more efficient for him, having gone for that Sank start, just routing the Uncle Chests right here with front of Escape is always nice to do.
Yeah, and after already clearing the back, you just go down to Zelda Cell, save and quit. There's no trying to take a Death Warp or any of those little slower strats without a mirror. It's a long way out of there.
And this is something that all of our runners are going to have to adjust to a little bit, coming from the sword assured mode, where it's an easy choice to jump in here right away when you're assured of being able to kill the enemies. When do you route in this escape stuff? And I'm liking where Matto's opted to do it, because your other big density play is the eastern area, and if that winds up not being the answer, then that turns into an unforced double dip, which you would rather avoid until you find that bow.
Yeah, absolutely. Eastern Palace is one of those ones, and unless you absolutely need to go there for something, you'd like to be able to clear it in one shot.
And Arcturus completing his Zora area checks. Unfortunately, the seed's been pretty rupee light. Both of our runners rocking sub 200 rupee counts, so not even within farming distance of that Zora stuff.
Yeah, the seed hasn't given him much to start with. That's for sure.
Yep, and the math came out a little different for Arcturus, since he already grabbed those first 2 uncle checks. He's proceeding directly to Eastern, which we know is not going to hurt him. Wow, and there's the Titan's Mitts in the Sage's Closet.
Wow, nice and early. Arcturus opting to drop out and check Bonk Rocks and King's Doom right away.
Yep, and Bonk Rocks was the answer this whole time. Both of our runners are going to be kicking themselves for leaving that behind for so long. Little do they know, they're going to be pulling it within about 30 seconds of each other. And Arcturus, by virtue of checking the eastern area and finding those Titan's Mitts, is going to have the blue mail from King's Tomb, and is also going to be entering the Dark World with a few more routing options to his name.
Yeah, definitely opened up for that. Going into the Dark World with blue mail, especially with at this point only having a hammer, is going to feel a little bit better. Nice to be able to take those extra few smacks around from the enemies. Both of our runners, just basically doing the same checks on each other's tails here. They'll have a virtual high five here in a second, potentially on routing.
Yep, and this is a point where we're going to be running into an interesting decision. You've got Thieves Town. It is fully clearable, but it's only a pendant. How deep do you go? The first 4 are kind of a no-brainer, but depending on how many items you find in there, is it going to be worth delving deeper than that?
Yeah, definitely. At this point, I would think for what little they have going on, and it's full clearable, it might not be too hard to make the decision to commit and just do the whole thing.
Yeah, this is where hitting Hype Cave before heading into Village of Outcasts can pay dividends, because what you find or don't find there might inform your decision making when it comes to Thieves Town.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, especially with a pendant Thieves Town. See that Arcturus has pulled the hookshot out of the house, so that's a nice find. Start making you think about a few other things at this point.
Yeah, especially coupled with those Titans mitts, that opens up a lot of checks on Death Mountain. Meanwhile, Mattocat's managed to pull both the map and the compass. And there's the big key. So no love yet from Thieves Town.
Yeah, pretty barren so far. See that Matto had to stop and take a second to make the choice whether to keep going or not. So Arcturus pulled the Bombos medallion out of Hammer Peg, so we're in the know of knowing where all medallions are, so I guess there might be a hunt, but at this point they're all fairly accessible to our runners.
Yep, and as our intrepid restreamer Trey Spyre points out in chat, that Bombos coupled with some of the other items that have turned up, that's Ice Palace access.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thought, especially this early in the seed.
Yeah, on the one hand, I'm a big believer in ABCD, always be clearing crystal dungeons. On the other hand, this is meant to be a learning tournament, a beginner's tournament, and a hammer cold stair fight, even with blue mail with only 7 hearts to your name, ooh, that's rough. And there's Bo on Stumpy. Speaking of crystals, there's an easier one for you.
Yeah, there's one that no one's going to turn away from at this point. That's for sure. The problem is, it makes you start thinking about. We don't have a mirror, but it makes you start thinking what could be in pod as well.
Yep. Of course, that's also good news for Mattocat, since that's something he's likely to pick up momentarily here. That should push him back towards Eastern and his Titan's mitt. Hype Cave, not a whole lot of hype for right now, but hey, at least you don't have to worry about an ice rod hunt. It's there, it's under your belt, don't even worry about it. You got it, you're fine.
One of those relief items to see, hey, I don't have to hunt this ice rod that can be anywhere.
Where's Arcturus heading now? Oh, it looks like he's a believer that Pendant Pod is always the answer.
Interesting to see how this plays out. At least it doesn't feel like a bad dip. We're not going to get bow locked right away and think about having to camera unlock if possible. So a lot of items in here. It does feel a little bit off being a pendant, of course, when we can't clear Eastern. But see how it pays out here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's like, yes, you would like to have the mirror to be able to go into Eastern from here. You would like to prioritize crystal dungeons, but the check density of a pendant pod is such that this early in the seed, barely 20 minutes in, you've got so much that you're looking for. It's not likely you'll be able to put it off forever, and if you think you're doing it anyway, this is as close as you're likely to get for a while.
Yeah, definitely. No time like the present, and just as you put, Ben, the density in there is just, it's too hard to say no to, especially if you're right by it. Looks like Matto's gonna head back up the mountain at this, or head up the mountain at this point, find out that we have a sword he can't get at.
Yep, it looked like he took an unfortunate overworld death there and changed his plans. But speaking of density, there's a lot of value to be had on this mountain. Little awkward to route without the mirror. Got to make sure that anything you want to do in the light world you have done before you hop in that portal. But all of Paradox Cave, all of Hookshot Cave, go ahead and get that intel for Turtle Rock entrance requirements. You can go up and grab that crystal in Hera. Lots of stuff to be done up here. Ooh, but I'd forgotten that Mattocat has not found that hookshot yet, so would have been a lot of stuff to find if Chusky had been up there. But yeah, Mattocat with no hookshot and no titans, locked out of much up there in the mountain. And Trey Spyre pointing out that, yeah, Matto did not get his hookshot out of C-shaped house. That is a rather unfortunate skip.
Yeah, definitely at this point. Almost hope that when he grabs the Titan Smiths here, he can push him back towards it.
But for right now, he's got it. He does have his bow. He's heading to Eastern.
Yeah, at this point, no better time. You're already over here. Might as well clear it out. Nothing's stopping you from getting crystal on the board.
So we're going to be seeing some new checks on both sides here as Chusky makes his way into the back of pod, which is where the items tend to be hanging out.
Yeah, we'll see if the pendant pod pays off. And a bow in Eastern. Early silvers for our runners. That's always nice.
Yeah, especially when we haven't gotten even a single sword yet. Those make a lot of bosses that would be very, very frightening with only the hammer much more manageable.
Yeah, and further down the line, make a lot of them more tolerable. We're looking at you, Vitrius.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Chusky, remembering, I have not done Zora yet. I'm going to grab all of these rupees in the U room of pod. We've got Orange Kupo in the chat theorizing that that Mattocat is a user of auto tracking, so we're hoping that skip in C-shaped house is something that will occur to him later if his tracker hasn't marked it off.
Definitely hope that it occurs through in the next trip through VOO. ArcturusChusky only finding the book so far that I've really noticed in here.
Yeah, we were talking about that that Green Pendant Desert play earlier, and it might turn out to be the answer. Good heads up play from Arcturus, remembering that he had a fairy in the bottle that needed to get gone if he's to set up a death warp here. Unfortunately, these mini Dodongos just not cooperating. There we go.
Yeah, some of Ganon's minions finally started to cooperate there. He might have to adjust their pays this week.
Yeah, it occurs to me that book might be a nice find for Chusky, finding it before going up the mountain with his Titans and hookshot there. So there's that ether tablet that's in a very out-of-the-way location. You hate to leave it behind, and he won't have to. He'll be able to check it at the very least.
Yeah, that's great thinking on your part, Ben. I had overlooked that completely.
But at this point, he's going to have to hope that was where the value in pod lies, because he's got one more try at a valuable item here on Helmasaur. Pod's a time-consuming dungeon to do if it doesn't wind up having value.
Yeah, definitely. One of those really long ones to just go all the way through it.
Yeah, and even just to reach it, it's a circuitous route.
I believe there is an item on Armos, so we'll be interested to see what that's going to be. Just a piece of heart. But first crystal in the books for Mattocat, and about 30 minutes and 50 seconds roughly, so first blood on the board for Matto.
Yep, that let's see where he goes from here. We know he needs to get back to Village of Outcasts for that C-shaped house and a hook shot. It looks like he might be heading down to the portal, might be retracing Arcturus' footsteps into Pod. From his point of view, it's where the check density is.
Yeah, definitely. It's, as you said, the density's there. It's not a bad play. You're already over here. You're not really coming back here unless you're forced to, so might as well check it out while you're here. We know that there's not much in there, but
Yep, just that big 20 on Helmasaur, so we'll see if that book winds up paying off. And it looks like Matto's gonna walk away from Pod for the moment. Looks like he might be heading to Catfish here. Or at the very least, Pyramid.
yeah, it did take the overworld death on the way here before, so maybe just completing that route of going to Pyramid and Catfish.
Arcturus also walking out of Pod area. He already grabbed that that bug net, so he will be heading up to Catfish. And in answer to a question in chat, the book will allow you to check tablets no matter what your sword status is, but you do need Master Sword or better to actually collect its contents. Matto opting to stop off for a bit of safety and buy some red goo from the Dark World Potion Shop. If it saves him another death, it'll be worth it, but it does pull him that much farther away from Zora money, and that's a big question mark on both our runners' sides at this point. Of course, you might also be thinking, Zora's pretty hard orphaned at this point. How much do I care? And that's red mail on the catfish.
Nice early safeties. I mean, half an hour in, you've got red mail, you've got half magic. It'll be blue mail for Matto, but still really nice to see early in the seed. Not much of a surprise here seeing ArcturusChusky go up the mountain with those Titan Smiths with that hook shot. There's a density checks up here, and as you put in information, and there's a hair clear. Really good play.
Yep, when you don't have to choose between the next available crystal dungeon and the check density, there's not much that can pull you anywhere else. Meanwhile, Mattocat back at the CAC portal. Let's hope he's remembered C-shaped house. And yes, indeed, he's going to be grabbing his hook shot here, probably kicking himself a little for leaving it behind, but it cost him the walkover here from Sank, but could have been a lot worse. He seems a little confuzzled as to where to go next.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make you think, do I do this at this point? Do I do dig game? Do I think about blacksmith? And there's another sword that we can't get sitting on the floating island.
2 mirror-locked swords. All I want in the whole wide world now is for Ether Tablet to be the mirror, telling you that the other 2 swords are somewhere else out there. That's the final irony. Let's see it.
Moment of truth here.
Not today. And Mattocat's learning an unfortunate little factoid, which is that the hammer dash that lets you go through these pegs real fast is dependent on having a sword. If you are swordless at the moment, don't bother with the hammer dash, you're just gonna bonk off of it. Chusky's setting up a Harapot using what's become known as the Philly Pot setup. Relatively recently discovered setup that is just so much quicker and a lot more flexible. It does not require pixel perfect precision on the link placement. Still does on the bomb placement, but that's the one that's not on a timer, so it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a absolute blessing with the new Philly Pot setup. Mattocat opting to bring the blacksmith home. Let's see what they're forging for us today.
That's some dwarven boomerang smiths today. As the big worm at the top of the tower goes down. For a small key, I have not been counting items here. I'm not sure if that means we have something locked in the basement.
I believe so, because I believe the basement cage was the map, and the compass chest, I believe, was actually a compass.
Well, Ark's the one with a race riding on this, and he certainly seems to think there's something down there. Getting the coffee break, and while we wait for that coffee break to resume itself, seems like a good time to just remind everybody to give these two runners a follow. You know, I played this game for probably 2 years before I would ever do a competitive race that I thought might get restreamed, because I was always worried about making a silly mistake and looking like a goober on restream. So big shout outs to everybody in this tournament who's here learning, taking the chance of looking a little silly. Just know that it's happened to all of us, and thank you for putting on a show for us here today. Arcturus taking the slow way out of Hera with no mirror. But you gotta do what you gotta do, and there is more to be found on this mountain, but he's gonna have to go to the Dark World to do it. And speaking of going to the Dark World, Mattocat appears to be wanting to take the T-Rock portal. The Dead Rock says, no, don't do it, man. Hera's right there. You don't have the mirror. You can't come back from this. He's not listening to that, Dead Rock. He knows the mirror is going to be in, let's say, Super Bunny Cave.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Those Dead Rocks can be persuasive. Oh, maybe we're changing our mind a little bit at this moment.
Do you trust the Dead Rock? He's been so cruel to you so many times. Why would he be telling the truth now? Sounds like Matto's gonna trust the Dead Rock. Yeah, Matto acting with a little bit of hesitancy here, and it's hard to blame him. This is a tricky thing to route. Do you orphan some of these checks like Spiral that are not super efficient? Or do you go ultra thorough, get absolutely everything you can in the light world before going dark? Looks like Matto's decided to opt for thoroughness, but not without some consideration first.
Yeah, definitely want to try to clear it all out, but everything's opened up. You know, you're thinking about the Dark World, then I believe probably Hera just clipped into his mind.
And once again, that Dead Rock says, nobody, you don't want this portal yet. You got a crystal dungeon. Don't you want to go get the crystal?
It's even one of those shiny red ones.
And yeah, as much as it might hurt to go down there into Spiral Cave and then have to climb all the way back up and go left, imagine how much worse you would feel if something like Mirror was in there and you left it behind. And it is such a long trek to get back to Hera.
Oh yeah, it's a long way around. And ArcturusChusky checking out the TR entry. See that it's ether, so that ether from Dark Cross will be required on his side at some point. So here we are, 43 minutes into the seed. Where the heck are the swords that we can actually get at, Ben?
And at this point, I'm looking at that book and I'm thinking, The answer's in desert.
You and I are definitely on the same page. I see a fairly early book. I've got boots. Desert's a green pendant. Yeah, I want to head that way.
But of course, we know that all Arcturus is going to find here in Eastern is that crystal, but he's going to need it anyway, so he's going to get it right now.
And get his silvers out of here too, so a little bit of a boost early when we don't have many other offensive options.
Fair enough. Mattocat also going for the Philly pot strat here. I thought he had the setup there, but looked like it was not to be. Let's see if he gets it this time. It looks like he's opted for spin speed strats instead.
Yeah, after a couple tries where it doesn't quite work out like that, it's when you have both options, it's not so bad to just switch it over.
All right, Harapot successful. And Lumaga pointing out it's looking like the reason why that first attempt with the Philly strat wasn't successful. There is a variable that if it gets set wrong, prevents you from using the bomb setup. You'll just slide off. And that variable gets triggered when you... It's the strangest thing. If you kill an enemy, the pickup that it drops, you cannot pick it up while it is still in the air or bouncing. You have to wait for it to settle all the way, or just avoid picking it up altogether. If you do wind up screwing up that variable, you can reset it just by a screen transition. Either go down to the basement and back up, or worst case, go back to the entrance and go back in.
Things you learn. I learned something today. I actually didn't know that would mess that up. So thanks to Lumaga for pointing that out, and thanks for explaining that, Ben.
Yep, it's one of those things that it'll get you once, and you'll clip it and wonder what the heck's going on and post about it on the Discord, and somebody will set you right. Not that ever happened to me.
So I guess at this point for our runners, with what they do kind of know, when you do look at Crystal Dungeons, do you start thinking about a really not so fun Ice Palace?
I mean, at this point, especially on Arcturus side, you're rocking red mail. You've got 11 hearts. You're very beefy. You've got 2 bottles that you can fill up if you're feeling like you need to. The big thing that's scaring me away from that is the cold stare fight, just because with hammer being what you have to work with, it's rough. But it's either that or a desert play that might be a big waste of time. So at this point, it's starting to look worth it to risk taking a bad cold stare death.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you have the, as you've said, that you have, and as do I, the ABCD mentality.
But it looks like Arcturus might be heading to desert instead. And in terms of check density, they're pretty close to equivalent. We've got the two desert checks plus green pendant is 3. We had a ledge. I forget if Arcturus checked that when he was here before. I'm fairly sure he got a Gina.
Yeah, he did grab a Gina, but he didn't check the ledge earlier. Checked it this time. Just some bombs, so don't think we're going to go for those at this point, but...
Yep. Matto, it's a day of learning for everybody here, learning that when you don't have a sword, you cannot, in fact, use those medallions. It's not gonna keep him from anything right now, because it's not as though he could do anything in Turtle Rock once it was opened up without the red cane. But he must have been thinking, well, I'm right here, why not open up the door? Because you can't, is the answer. And that's both items out of desert, a 300 stack of rupees and a fetch quest powder. But Arcturus is heading to Landmos because there's one more item behind that green pendant, and you've spent the time to come over here. You want to get your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't grab it now, you're probably never coming back.
Matto remembering, can't dash through that guard. Let's adjust that dash a little bit. Getting boots before a sword just feels bad. It's like you only have half boots.
Yeah, just one on one foot at this point.
They're almost like some kind of fake boots or pseudo boots that give you some of the functionality but not all of it, but that's just a bad idea. But meanwhile, Mattocat's grabbed his red mail out of King's Tomb, heading back into the CAC portal. This could be a play into the front of Skull, perhaps?
Yeah, I was curious at first if it was the play to Skull or if it was going to be the play to the back of Thieves Town. ArcturusChusky making quick work of Lambo with those silver arrows. Always one of those items that's just so thankful to have when you're facing the desert boss.
Yep, and yeah, we've only seen one of the Thieves Town items, so lots of different ways our runners could be heading at this point, and interesting to see them both head away from the Crystal Dungeon and opting for a pendant dungeon and a non-completable Skullwoods, respectively.
Yeah, I guess that probably both runners' eyes at this point definitely want to check all the boxes off that you can before you head into what looks to be a very, very tough ice palace, or at least cold stair fight at that point.
Yep, and Arcturus wants to know, was that green pendant worth it? Survey says no. And Trey Spyre reminding me, Ice Palace is not in the offing, actually. What was I just saying not 5 minutes ago about needing swords to use medallions?
Yeah, I listened to that whole part and completely forgot myself. I guess we're hoping for a mirror. Looks like at this point, with 2 pendants down, third one completable, ArcturusChusky's going to check the pedestal.
Yeah, this is an out-of-the-way bit of knowledge, but you're never going to be closer, and the pet dream is dead for another day. And I know Mattocat found one item here in the front of Skull. I didn't see if he found the other, but regardless, he's cleared what he can for the moment. And Link to the Past Ken in chat reminding me that there is another check up on the mountain that both of our runners left behind, which was Spike Cave. Wouldn't be in logic at the moment with no invincibility item. You could brute force it, but not today.
Yeah, still a few other things to drag around there. Can always bring the lunchbox back.
Yep, we have not seen a Zora check from either runner, the early game having been very, very rupee light. They're both in very good shape rupee-wise at this point. Mattocat looks like he's making the desert play. Very reasonable. Unfortunately, it's going to be a dead end.
Yeah, especially for Mattocat, if you're starting to think about the pod or Thieves Town play. You've already been through the front of Thieves Town. Wouldn't feel good going back in there if you didn't have to.
Yep, of course, he's also been right up to the entrance of Pod and decided to head out and go to Pyramid and Catfish instead, so pretty much nothing's gonna feel good for Mattocat at this point.
Very true. The seeds pushing our runners in all sorts of directions and things you wouldn't normally like to go through, so it's going to be very interesting to see what the answer is here.
Yep, and chat reminding me, because Matto left Pod behind, he doesn't have the book to go into Desert Palace at the moment. So, well, we know the answer is almost certainly the back of Thieves Town here. He's got to be, that pod play's got to be looming large in his mind right about now. Well, and I say that, but that's 2 of our 4 Thieves Town items, and it's just a big 20. So right now it's looking like about a 50-50 shot whether this is the answer or if it's one of those rude out-of-the-way checks like Purple Chest or Zora.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting seed for our runners so far. Here's a bunch of stuff so you can do things right away. Oh, by the way, figure out what you need to do now.
Yep, at times like this where the seed just seems absolutely determined to bait me to places I don't want to go. I just try to remind myself the other guy has to deal with all of this same nonsense. And Mattocat has decided to go ahead and head into Thieves Town. So if he manages to stay out of pod, that could save him some real time here. And that's a mushroom in the Thieves Town big chest, because why would the game make things easy for you this late in the day?
Absolutely. Hey, you've got a mushroom to think about. Hey, we have powder now. Which way do we go?
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the, well, Arcturus has powder. Mattocat has not picked... That was... Where was that? That was in front of Skull, wasn't it?
Desert big vanilla big key chest.
That's right, desert. So, oof. Yeah, that could... Pod for book to desert for powder could still turn out to be the answer.
What a chain that would be.
But we've still got one more chance for Thieves Town to be the answer, and that lies on blind. Nope, you got baited again, son.
But here's some money for your trouble.
Arcturus heading up into front of Skull. He's not going to like the answers he finds there. We've got 2 fetch quests, a purple chest, and a Zora check. If we've got anything else that we haven't seen on either side yet, I'm having trouble thinking of it.
Just the brute force through Spike Cave is the only other option that I can think of.
Matto heading into his hammer blind fight. Hammer blind fights are a lot easier to deal with when you have red mail and 12 hearts to your name.
Yeah, definitely. You don't even think twice about coming in here with a hammer when you can take a beating, for lack of a better term.
Not that he's really doing that either, just taking his first hit of the fight here in the 3rd phase. And at this point, if he's anything like me, he's just wading in, like, yeah, hit me blind, see if I care.
Definitely bring it on at that point. But both of our runners handling the hammer blind fight quite well.
And in answer to a question in chat, both of our runners have pulled, in this case, a male upgrade from Catfish. That Zorachek is pretty hard orphan. They've already gotten everything else out of Fairy Fountain, out of Catfish. They've checked the ledge. And Matto's going to turn in that purple lunchbox. No better time to do it.
Yeah, already over there, and I mean, Matto at this point looks like he's committing to staying out of Pendant Pod if at all possible.
Yep, and we will not know whether that is the correct answer until Arcturus finds a moment to turn in that powder to the magic bat and sees what he gets. Purple lunchbox, not the answer today. And for those just joining us, we're just having a rough scavenger hunt of a seed. The big prize at this point would be Mirror, which is currently locking 2 swords up there on Death Mountain. Swords, in turn, locking our access to Ice Palace and presumably our next crystal. And of course, Mirror would also give us Swamp Palace access. All right, let's see what the mushroom holds. Zip, zilch, nada, mockery, and heartbreak.
Wow, the seed definitely making our runners grasp at every last straw out there.
All right, Scamfish, what do you got for us? I mean, this has to be the answer now, right? Is there anything else in logic?
If there is, I cannot think of it.
Oh, actually there is, and Arcturus is showing it to us. Survey says, nope, batter not the answer. And there it is! The mirror! And Mattocat has to be feeling happy that he stayed out of pod. Because that just opened up any number of fun stuffs.
Yeah, definitely. You know you're going to be able to go get 2 swords. You know you can go into ice. You can get into swamp. You can handle just about anything coming your way at this point.
So it's looking like that pod play, that pendant pod for once was not the answer. But with that mirror, when Arcturus does make his way to the Scamfish and finds the mirror, it does still open one more check. So there is still hope for those of us in the Arcturus camp for that pod play to pay off. So as we move into the second hour of this seed, it's looking like Mattocat may have a slight advantage just by virtue of avoiding pod and getting to that bottleneck, which was the mirror on Scamfish, a little earlier. But at this point, you've run around the map in so many directions, so many ways. You've got to be wondering, am I ahead? Am I behind? Did the other guy do Houlihan and pick that up 20 minutes into this seed? What is even happening?
Yeah, especially finding something there that early. Your mind is racing at this point, I'm sure.
Meanwhile, Arcturus heading into the front of Escape. That's something that he hasn't done yet. And he will need that Ether Medallion, which is hiding in Dark Cross, a little later on to open up Turtle Rock. And Mattocat, for the price of one mountain climb, goes from swordless to master sword. And while he's up here, looks like he's thinking, he's checking to make sure, doesn't want to waste time, but he does in fact have 2 red potions, plenty to brute force his way through this spike room.
Yeah, definitely a good heads-up play to remember this check up here and get it out of the way before you really, next time you're coming back up here, you want to be just hopefully completing TR. Just 20 bucks for his trouble over there, though, so...
So at this point, Mattocat is looking for a fire rod for Skull. He's looking for a red cane and for Turtle Rock and Mire, and then a flute to get him into Mire. So 3 items from Go Mode here.
And everything opening up slowly. The play into swamp before ice. Looks like we're gonna check K45 and maybe the tablet first.
Yep, not a terrible idea. Maybe a little thorough, but you know the way this seed's been treating our runners, maybe thorough's gonna the thing that pays off today.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, I think that if you were behind the controller, you've got to be thinking, I'm not leaving any stone unturned at this point.
Yep, and you've already done the rest of the South Dark World stuff. There's never going to be a better time to make your way over here. And Mattocat not going to be able to do that tablet check. He is still lacking the book, which can only be found in Pod, and he's stayed out of there this long. He's really hoping it winds up not being required.
Yeah, definitely. I'd forgotten that Matto did stay out of Pod. Looks like ArcturusChusky making the play to Zora now. Had to be pretty much, your hand had to be pushed at this point. I don't think there was anything left.
Yep, he's getting his mushroom check out of the way. And he's got plenty of rupees. If he wanted to take the opportunity to fill up any empty bottles he might have, might as well.
Early big key in Swamp Palace. That's always nice to see walking through Swamp. You don't have to try to think, do I need to go back for it? Do I gamble and finish the dungeon and have to come back in?
Absolutely, and of course, the question that's always weighing on my mind as I enter Swamp is, do I do left side first? And is there anything I could find in here that would make me say, you know what, I'm skipping left side altogether? I think with 3 items from Go Mode, it's pretty hard to justify a left side skip. But I don't know, that's how I would play it. What's your read on the situation?
At this point, I think I would follow in exactly what you said, Ben. I think at this point I wouldn't skip left side. I'm still looking for 3 things, you know. And if I clear this, have to come back in, just extra time lost. Might as well just take the extra. And if you know bomb diver down, it's that much easier.
Ooh, and there's the fire rod. And with the compass coming out of the big chest, Matto knows that there's going to be at least one item over there on the left side. So if he had any doubts about whether to do left side first, I think that pretty well resolves them. If the map and compass are both still outstanding at that point, you could hope for that god swamp setup where map and compass are both on left side and you can feel safe skipping it all together, but without that, yeah. Looks like Matto might not be super comfortable in his bomb diver down. He's picking up pots like maybe he's hoping to find extra bombs, but nothing doing. He's using a different setup than the one that I've learned, so I can't tell where exactly he's going wrong here, but he does seem to be having trouble, and he is in fact on his last bomb.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. It's not the setup that I know either, so don't know what the difference is, I guess, at this point. Now we're just gonna go finish it.
Well, unfortunately, he's about to find out, oops, I spent the key getting to the left side, the other key is drowned. I'm gonna need to leave the dungeon and re-enter to reset that. That's going to be an opportunity for Arcturus to make up some time as he heads to Floating Island for his second sword, looking quite a bit behind Mattocat at this point. Still plenty of Rando left to go, 3 items yet outstanding, but not too many places left to look for them. Saw a moment of hesitation from Mattocat there, noticing that hallway was already flooded, maybe wondering, oh god, is the other one still flooded too? Did I do something wrong? But he's about to discover that he's fine. The developers of the randomizer are real smart guys and think about things like this.
Yeah, definitely. I remember having that moment of panic at least once in my rando time as well.
Looks like Arcturus is also going to take that mirror and beeline to the fully clearable crystal dungeon with the most checks. Right now looking about half a swamp palace behind Mattocat.
Yeah, considering the amount of checks that our runners have made in opposite directions, it's still fairly close here. It'd be interesting to see what they go. It'd be interesting to see if that book pays off. I would guess that depending on what they comes out of Swamp, Arcturus might think about that Bombos tablet.
And 2 items on the left side of Swamp, neither what you want to see. So Arcturus could conceivably close the gap even more by skipping left side, but that's a pretty ballsy play. I'd be pretty surprised to see it. right, let's see what the diver down room has in store for us. Just the map and a big 20.
The seed really just, we'll see what comes out of the waterfall room here and off Argus, but the seed just really give crumbs here, there, everywhere.
Yep, just a piece of heart in the waterfall room. I believe there should still be an item on Argus. But coming out of here, our runners will have Ice Palace and Skull Woods, two fully clearable in-logic crystal dungeons ahead of them. So plenty of places to check for further progression. Arcturus heading into Bomb Strat's Diver Down with 6 bombs to his name. Same situation that Mattocat found himself in. Let's see if he handles it. The Fire Snake being very rude, costing him his first attempt.
Definitely the true boss of this dungeon.
Yep. But second attempt was the charm. Arcturus looking much more confident in his setup there. Noticed him doing some sword slashes to set himself up on the proper pixel, whereas it looked like Mattocat was kind of trying to wing it, which, hey, I respect in a tournament that's all about learning. Just trying to learn on the fly without even a mentor to try to guide you through it. I respect the courage.
Absolutely. Nice to see, everybody grow with their skills and be willing to try something. I bet when you first start learning this game and you heard about it, you wouldn't even be willing to try to wing it.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are nice to see, that was in fact the red cane there on your boy Argus. So that's going to make Ice Palace nice and quick and easy. It's also going to open up Turtle Rock as another fully clearable crystal dungeon. All we're looking for now is that flute for Misery Mire.
Yeah, Swamp Palace definitely holding the goods today, so both runners will be happy to see that here.
Yep, things shaping up to be pretty linear coming out of that Zora mirror bottleneck. With Mattocat having about a half dungeon lead, but Arcturus looking to have potentially a slight execution advantage. And that's close enough that even if that flute is right along the route and the routing decisions are pretty nil from here on out, it's a gap that Arcturus could definitely make up through a combination of execution and potentially GT routing decisions.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how this this plays out all the way through, and it'll be quite interesting to see where the seed has put the flute. We already had a mirror in a less than desirable location that you don't want to go back to.
Mattocat missing his first icebreaker attempt there. Gets it on the second try. Seem to be having a little bit of trouble getting that block to move exactly 1 pixel to the left, which can be a tough thing even with pause buffers. Meanwhile, Arcturus just took down Argus and picked up his own red cane. I'd be surprised if he doesn't also head straight to Ice Palace. Taking a short detour here, we're finally going to definitively see whether that trip to pod paid off. All it got him was the book.
Yeah, definitely the moment of truth as I see that Matto has found the shovel in there, so the game not being shy with any of its fetch quests, that's for sure.
Just a big 20 there on the desert tablet, so Mattocat fans can breathe a sigh of relief. For once in this silly tournament, Pendant Pod was not the answer and was in fact a big waste of time. Chusky leaving no stone unturned, going to go ahead and knock out Cave 45 before moving on to his next crystal dungeon.
Yeah, once again, it comes back to what the seed has thrown at our runners here. It's really hard to ignore anything at this point.
Mattocat seeming a little confused with his Ice Palace routing. Can be a little tricky. He needs to make his way. Well, he's found 2 items. And he doesn't seem to know how to route iced tea in here. But with any luck, he'll find his 3rd right here in the big chest. Nope, 'twas not to be. Arcturus being very thorough, opting to go to Graveyard Ledge. I'd consider this a little iffy with only 1 item from Go Mode and with 3 fully clearable crystal dungeons ahead of you. Just gonna get a Mirror Shield for his troubles.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Ben. I think that's it's a little bit thorough at this point, but you know, depending on how your laser skips are, that mirror shield could pay a lot of dividends, especially with no invincibility item yet.
Yep, there was a time, believe it or not, when that Mirror Shield or an invincibility item was required to put Laser Bridge into logic, but no longer as of version 31 and advanced logic settings.
Mattocat moving into the fight with Cold Stare here, you know, try to spin him up in the corner, Fire Rod, half magic. No longer daunting like it could have been earlier in the seed, or if you had come here right away.
Absolutely. Of course, the way the sword logic turned out, you were never getting here with less than Master Sword.
That is true. Nice choice to follow the density through Swamp and come out with the Fire Rod, though. Definitely makes this fight just a lot more tolerable.
Absolutely, yeah. Master Sword Cold Stare is certainly doable if it's what you've got, but having that little bit of extra firepower is real nice. Meanwhile, Arcturus about to drop in for his moth fight, taking no chances, baiting out that Wallmaster before doing the drop down.
Yeah, definitely. Nobody likes to get caught on that drop, that's for sure.
And with plenty of health to his name, Arcturus is not shy about wading right in there among the spikes. Takes down the moth for a bottle. And another 5/6 crystal that does open up Pyramid Fairy. Mattocat hot on his heels, heading into the back of Skull Woods.
Looks like even before we head into Ice Palace that Arcturus might check this out now that he's completed. I wonder if the 5/6 crystal looming just played into his choice before going into ice. Never mind. Looks like we're taking a right turn here.
Yeah, that it's a long way to walk with that big red bomb. There are ways of speeding that trek up a little bit, but that's advanced knowledge. If you want to learn about that, ask another mentor, because I just walked the slow way. It's safe, and I'm a scrub. But more importantly, from Arcturus' perspective, there are 3 items in Ice Palace, any one of which could hold the answer. There's 6 in Turtle Rock, plus Mimic Cave. It's a pretty big ask to go much of anywhere that's not either in a crystal dungeon or directly along your route to one at this point. Spike movement being a little rude to Mattocat, blocking some of his fire rod shots, but down goes the moth for a second time this race. And Arcturus opting to go ahead and flip the crystal switch before heading into Icebreaker Room. That is slightly suboptimal with most key layouts if you're planning to full clear, but between you, me, and the wall, I do it too, just because it means you have to think less about your routing. And I'm more likely to lose time to screwing up my Ice Palace routing due to muscle memory than anything else.
You and I are both in the same camp on that one, I think. Unless there's absolutely no reason, I always make sure to go hit it.
It looks like Mattocat is also going to hedge his bets here with a post-moth trip over to Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, I guess in the sake of being thorough, there's no other better time. Like you said, it did seem a little bit thorough, but coming out of Skull Woods is about the only time you're really going to think about it at this point.
Yeah, I'm still firmly in the camp of just head up to Troc. I know it sucks if you don't find it there and you have to make an extra mountain climb, but you got to do what you got to do.
Got to go through it anyway, one way or the other.
Arcturus about to drop into his cold stare fight as Mattocat moves up the mountain towards that turtly-themed dungeon we all love.
Yep. With the three-headed turtle of nightmares. I mean, a lot better with red mail, all the other bonus points that our runners have at this point, but when it pushes you in here and you're a bit understacked, it just doesn't feel like a great time.
Yep, the half magic also definitely going to prove its value in that fight. When what you've got to work with is Master Sword or Hammer, it can be challenging to get those hits in on the fire and ice heads without running out of magic. But Mattocat should not have to worry too much about that. Got plenty of margin for error. And everybody really wants to avoid that second mountain climb if at all possible. Arcturus gonna go ahead and look for the flute in its vanilla location, locked by the shovel.
Yep, just somebody's buried pocket money in there.
See, this is a double bluff on the part of the seed. All seed long, it's been hiding the progression in weird, out-of-the-way locations. And now, right towards the end, it says, no, what? It's right on your critical path. Why are you going out of your way? It's in a crystal dungeon.
Yeah, definitely. What do you mean going to TR? TR is full of stuff. Just go.
Mattocat unfortunately missed a fire rod shot. It's going to be a tight timing window. And, yep, he's not going to be able to get through this door. Going to have to try this room again. Is the second time the charm? Yes, he makes it. Oh, and geez, did I blink? Matto does in fact have the flute there from Turtle Rock. Must have been on the left-hand side. I guess I must have been looking at Arcturus' screen.
You and I both. I didn't notice the pickup either.
So Turtle Rock was in fact the answer after all. And we've got ourselves a race because Arcturus is hot on Matto's heels. He's gotten his big and small from the torch room. Still needs to head left for that flute, but once he does, he will be in go mode.
Thanks to our track for pointing it out that it wasn't the first chest of TR, keeping us in line. Thanks for everybody putting this on. Thanks to Trey Spyre for restreaming. Thanks Ben for jumping in for commentary with me. It's been a pleasure so far.
Absolutely. Matto getting bodied by some pokies and anti-fairies there. Had a little bit of trouble getting through the Chain Chomp room. So Arcturus going to have a chance to pick up some time here if he can get through this Chain Chomp room efficiently. But it's pretty RNG dependent. He does take a hit, but with red mail and what is that, 16 hearts, he can shrug it off, which is not something you can often say about Chain Chomps.
Oh, definitely not. Most of the time, they don't play very nice.
Looked like Matto was maybe checking his keys there, making sure I do have the big key right. I'm safe to skip lava chest. He is, and he's long with Arcturus hot on his heels, mere screens behind. Ooh, the laser's being very rude to Arcturus. Losing a little bit of time here, and in a race this close, every second counts. For example, the seconds that Matto is currently spending here in Mimic Cave could be huge if he pulls a sword upgrade or... Well, in fact, a sword upgrade is about what he'd need to make this worth it. But all he finds is a trio of bombs. And that was all it took for Arcturus to pull ahead here as we go into this very close endgame.
Yeah, the pace both of our runners are on here. This is really just going to come down to execution, GT routing.
Yep, so far this race, Arcturus has appeared to generally have the execution advantage. Matto's big advantage up to this point has been managing to stay out of pod, a pendant pod which for once did not hold anything of value.
Yeah, that's definitely a massive play all on itself to stay out of pendant pod. And when it's looming, it's hard to stay out of there.
Absolutely, and there were multiple points over the course of this race where, you know, I would say Arcturus maybe, arguably, depending on your philosophy on such things, went in a little early. There are multiple points where Matto could have shrugged his shoulders and said, well, it sucks, but I guess it was the answer all this time. But he made his decision, and he stuck to it, and it's paid off.
Yeah, definitely. And Matto opting to check Laser Bridge. Arc just saying, no, we're going to go through this and hope that maybe we find a seed or a sword to make things easier. Maybe Matto's just taking the safety ore, but if you come down here, it's hard to, with Mirror Shield, it's hard not to check these chests. Maybe find a sword upgrade and make things a little bit easier.
Yeah. Matto's getting his reps in with the laser skips. Mirror Shield, what's that? I'm here to practice, folks. I'm here to learn. Oh, I guess it's a race, too. He does decide to use the Mirror Shield for the last couple. But meanwhile, Arcturus has grabbed his 7th crystal. No, 6th crystal, I forgot. Still needs to go back down that mountain, turn in that flute, and grab Misery Mire. Matto needs to be a little bit careful here, even with Red Mail, with 3.5 hearts to his name. I haven't been paying attention to his bottle contents. He might wind up being happy he took that safety door. He just cycled past it. I think I saw a fairy, so he might be all right.
I believe he picked up a fairy, and I believe he might still have one of his early red potions.
Yeah, letting this fight get a little bit away from him That hammer hitbox is rough to deal with. We've now got 2 cycles of ice on the floor. That's gonna make the rest of this fight feel pretty bad. That firehead looks like it's saying, "What, you want me? I'm right here. Come get me."
Yeah, I'm right here. What are you going to do about it? Fairy kicking in here.
Arcturus hoping to find that 3rd sword, and it pays off. 3rd sword hiding in the mire shed.
That's always a nice find at this point. Definitely, now I guess if you're in Arcturus' shoes at this point, and Matto's when he gets there as well, you're just hoping for a really friendly mire layout.
Matto back in relatively dangerous territory with only 3 hearts. This final phase usually a little bit easier, but he's taking no chances. He's got that red potion. What are you saving it for, Christmas?
Exactly. If you don't use it now, it's just going to look pretty in your menu at the end.
And the elemental turtle snake goes down. Meanwhile, Arcturus pulling ahead here in the endgame, already well on his way into mire. Made some nice use of sword beams to get through that mire 2 room. No Godmire today, all keys so far.
Yeah, definitely just hoping that it's going to be a little bit nice and not put it in its vanilla location, because, you know, as much as it's nice to have 30 seconds for a drink or anything else, it just never feels fun waiting for that one.
Well, it could have been worse. 3rd check was the big key.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Still, right here on the left side, registered to the store. Fairly nice.
I did not see whether Arcturus attempted to set up a spooky glitch. We'll find out in just a moment here. He did puff up his boots there, so it looks like he is going to attempt a spooky here. This is a glitch that makes use of some variable magic to mess with a couple of some game code in a way that causes the splash damage of the fire rod to hit crystal switches that are upwards of a screen away and not visible, and the whole thing looks real weird in the dark, and I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those satisfying pieces of tech that exists in this game.
Yep, unfortunately it looks like Arcturus was in the wrong column. You need to bounce the fire rod shot off of the spiky clinker. I believe it needs to be done in the column just to the right of where he was. So he gave up at that point. Used the red cane, which, unless you take care to overload the screen with sprites by, say, puffing dust off of your boots or firing off a silver arrow or an ice rod shot, that does reset the variable and disable the glitch. Also, while I was talking, a Vitreous fight happened, but look, we've all got silvers here. Vitreous is not going to be much of a problem.
Yeah, he's not going to be Ganon's employee of the month this month, that's for sure.
But that was, in fact, the 7th crystal here on Arcturus' side, which means we get to guess where's that GT big key gonna be? It's the last thing we need to find. Where is it? Do you have a guess for us today, TJ?
I always go with 13. You know, it just kind of always seems deep enough, you know, as much as you'd like to see it in 1 or 2.
I usually go 2. I'm gonna say 17 today.
That seems, for the way this seed is made, it seems like it's going to be kind of deep in there. I see 13, 6, 8, 7 in chat so far.
Also, when it's something like 2, most of the time that means both of our runners find it quickly, and I'm hoping it's buried someplace weird where it that left versus right routing decision might make a difference here and maybe close the gap a little more here in Matto's favor. No offense to Arcturus fans, I just like a close race.
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you on that one. It's nice to see when they come right down to a few seconds at the end, close grind, you know, a really well-executed Ganon fight one way or the other. Always so exciting to see for ourselves and all the viewers out there.
It looked like Matto was maybe trying to set up a spooky glitch a little earlier. Nope, maybe not. In order to set it up as you flewed in, this game's code is weird. You need to pick up the portal rock in the flute 6 spot from the bottom. That sets you up on the correct Y pixel as the duck leaves the screen. Sentences that you never could have conceived saying before getting into this weird game.
Yeah, definitely. So many things, you know. You're counting pixels left, right, and center, you know, all that fun stuff. I don't know about you, but as free as Spooky can be with your setup every once in a while, I have a hard time doing it with boots. I tend to like to use the ice rod.
So that was 5 checks with no big key yet. Looks like Arcturus decided to go Stalfos room first. This is one of those strats that's very safe, but almost certainly, no matter where you find the big key, there's the possibility that your opponent found it before you did. But if they find it before you did, it's only going to be by a little. And if you find it before them, it's potentially by a lot. So this is a nice save hedging your bets type routing here. Cyrus Core asks, Dark Magician route. There are people who will get very pedantic with you and tell you that it only counts as Dark Magician if you go full right all the way to Ice Armos from the room that Arcturus is in right now. I don't take sides. I just call it Stalfos room first. Meanwhile, Mattocat has taken down Vitreous and is taking a moment to restock his potions. Since he never followed that, went into pod, found the book, followed it to the powder, he's wanting to make sure he's got all his safeties filled right now because he will have fewer opportunities to refill than Arcturus here.
Yeah, not a bad play at all. If you're going to come up here and make sure you have everything you need, you don't have to think about it afterwards, in case things go really bad.
And there it is. I was doing a bad job of counting. What was that? Was that 12? Am I counting right?
Was that 13?
Trey Spyre says 13, and I'm inclined to believe him. He's gotten more things right than I have today. Been more observant than I am. Arcturus flying through the Mimic Room. Silvers makes that nice and quick and easy, and that Mirror Shield doesn't hurt either. One of the few rooms that Mirror Shield actually helps in.
Yeah, it definitely increases the margin of error. Picking up that both these runners coming through here with the Temperate Sword, nice too. It's always nice for the climb.
Meanwhile, Mattocat doing what's a more usual route where you go Hope Room first, and if you get that small key, you continue on to the right. We'll go ahead and get him that big key just a little bit faster, but Arcturus is going to need to give up more time in the gauntlet than he's giving up for that to make much of a difference, because he is just blazing right through here.
Yeah, nothing seems to be really standing in his way. Lammo 2 can always be a little bit picky, especially with that shooter going on and a mirror shield and all the other fun stuff that can happen in this room.
Yeah. Didn't quite get that nice easy Silver's one cycle, but does take down that third worm. He's going to continue on. Very nice. Zero cycle Whiz Robes too. I noticed Arcturus going out of his way to pick up a little safety magic after spending some fire rod shots on the Landmo fight. I think he would have been okay without it, but I get so paranoid about my magic management in GT. I do not fault him one bit for being careful. And yeah, sure enough, with that half magic, he would have taken more than that to cause him to run out.
Yeah, definitely, but I'm with you on that one as well. It's just super cautious of it. You know, I'd rather have too much than not have enough.
Yeah, it takes you so little time to just go ahead and open and grab those pots, and costs you so much time if you've judged wrong. Of course, in this case, Arcturus has a bunch of blue goos. Has at least one, anyway, I just noticed in the menu. So, in an absolute pinch, he could have burned one of those. And no Moldorm 2 falls for Arcturus today. That's one of the few remaining opportunities to even the score at this point. Arcturus heading into the Aga 2 fight with a healthy lead as Mattocat just about to pick up his GT Big and begin his gauntlet climb.
And Arc's going to show us a little bit of agonometry here today. always fun, especially when the wizard likes to give you funny patterns like that one.
Yep, this is just a tough fight. It's RNG dependent. There aren't really any consistent patterns or strats that you can practice. You just on the plus side, you're going to get a chance to practice it at least once. There's a triple, very nicely done.
Cleans it up there after that really nice triple and a double to finish it off. And gonna drop in and go visit with the pig.
Yep, has very nearly the nicest setup you could possibly want between half magic, red mail, silver arrows, and a tempered sword. Only the gold sword would really make this any better, and even that not by much.
Yeah, definitely. It's not anything that anybody's really would ever hunt down to make it that much better.
Meanwhile, Mattocat is tackling his gauntlet. Arcturus pulling out the cape. I got no time to waste on a pig. I don't care about bats. Throw your bats at me. I'm invisible. Arcturus taking some what look like maybe frustration slashes at the pig. You only need one per side of the floor that goes down, but it doesn't cost you any more time to take more. Might as well. Why not?
Well, you know, after what him and his minions made them go through, then you can't blame them.
Yep. Very nice double silver arrow hit there. This should be the fourth to close out the fight. Arcturus has but to cross this bridge to finish in first place with an official race time of 2 hours, 1 minute, and 31 seconds. GG's to Arcturus.
GG's, get your GG's in chat for our runner here, and Mattocat keeps progressing through here.
Yep, it looks like we will be joined in just a moment by Arcturus. And here he is, GG's.
GG.
Oh.
And GG's as well to Mattocat. Spoilers, this is all happening in the future. There's a 10-minute delay in brackets, so he can come in and talk to us now. He's not doing a magic trick where he plays and talks at the same time.
Yeah. I could do that, though. That's not really magic, but I could do it.
No, it's nobody's ever done it. It's impossible. Well played, the two of you.
Thank
Good
you
race,
very
Arcturus.
much. Thank you. Good race, Matto. That was a seed.
So, funnily enough, the two of you, after getting boots, walked right past the bonk rocks where that moon pearl was hiding a couple of times each.
Oh yeah.
And wound up pulling it at almost the exact same time. But I gotta ask, finding it there, what was going through your head?
I think it was an absent-minded mistake. It's just a little lack of experience, but that's the point of this tournament, you know, to get that experience and get some good mentorship.
That was the point where I started feeling behind, and it never stopped until I killed Ganon.
I think we both thought we were behind because of the mirror.
Yeah, this was a rude seed for funneling you into that mirror that, I mean, you've got to think, yeah, it was pretty rupee light at the beginning. It makes sense that you both hard orphaned it, but in the back of your mind, are you thinking, well, what if the other guy hula hand? What if he got it 20 minutes in?
I thought that was the case. 100%, but Arcturus, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought the same, but even I realized that had I Hula Hand, I still wouldn't have had Zora money when I checked Zora area. So that kind of quelled that just a little bit as I was going through. I was afraid it was going to be in front of Escape or Dark Cross, because I totally forgot I had the lamp when I did back of Escape and just passed those up. And if Mirror would have been there, I was sure I lost. So I was glad it wasn't, but I wasn't super glad it was on Zora.
I'm seeing on my screen right now, obviously we're in the future, but first sword 1 hour and 5 minutes.
2 mirror-locked swords. 2 of them, both on the mountain, because of course.
Because of course. I think I laughed out loud when I saw the one on Floating Island. I was like, of course this game would do that to us.
Yeah, two visible mirror-locked swords, I might add. Just sitting there taunting you.
Yep, no better way of saying, hey, you look, but you can't touch at this point.
Yep.
In a mirror.
I was like, surely this means there's a sword somewhere else. I was wrong.
You didn't find Tempered?
I mean, I found it way late.
Oh, okay.
Tempered was in the Meyer area.
Meyer Shed, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is the worst seed I've ever raced, just saying.
So the other big question on my mind is Mattocat. So your big advantage this whole time was that you managed to stay out of Pendant Pod, which for once had no value. The only thing it contained was a book to bait someone into desert, which also had nothing. But you checked a lot of out-of-the-way stuff when the check density would have been in pod. Can you walk us through that decision-making? Because it paid off.
Well, mostly I just figured I'd already did Thieves Town. I kind of went to Thieves Town twice, and I didn't want to dip anything else at all. And I just kind of did a lot of other checks. I mean, it might have made more sense, honestly, as a better play to do pod. But in this case, it's one of those times where like maybe the better play didn't really pay off. I wanted to do a lot of other things because there was a lot to find still. There was the flute, the mirror. What else? There were other the fire rod was missing for a long period of time. I forget where I found it, but there was a lot of things to find. So I just figured that some must be in the overworld.
And for what little bit the seed gave both of you guys, it's not surprising that you both were very thorough for what you did with overworld checks or dipping pendant dungeons. It pushed you all over the place.
When I took that book and checked Ped and saw it was 300 rupees, my heart just sank.
Yeah, definitely at that point, because you had already cleared 2 pendant dungeons, right? With Thieves Town sitting right there.
Yep, I bet hard on Ped this seed, and it didn't bite me, but oh man, that was stressful.
And meanwhile, 10 minutes in the past, Mattocat crosses the bridge and finishes in second place with an official race time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, 27 seconds. GG's.
Yeah,
so looking ahead,
Arcturus. Go ahead. Oh,
GG's, Matto, for sure.
So looking ahead, Arcturus, it looks like that is your second win of this best of 3 series.
It is.
You will go on to round 2 of brackets to face Breathless Sleep. Any thoughts on that?
I'm excited. I know we're very similarly skilled. I've raced Breathless a couple of times on the ladder. And I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a real fun series.
All right. Well, that about does it for me. TJ, any final questions for our runners?
No, I think anything that I was going to ask was covered. I just want to say GG's to both of our runners. Thanks for putting on a great show and dealing with that lovely seed that was thrown at you.
And thank you guys for commentating. Thanks to our tracker, Trey, for restreaming. This was a blast. So yeah, thank you guys too, because without you guys, this wouldn't have happened.
Likewise.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this evening. GG's, and thank you to both our runners, and again, of course, to Trey Spyre for restreaming, and to morgcl for tracking, and big thanks to TJ for co-comming with me, and to everybody here at the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2021.
Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your night, day, morning, wherever you happen to be.